Hello, hello. Welcome to the Mother Days podcast. I am your host, Sarah Wright Olsen.
And I'm Teresa Palmer. Hi, Daisies.
Hello. Oh, guys.
We are very excited.
If you can hear it in our voices, we are so pumped.
This is my favorite mum stalk on Instagram who we have on the show today. My favorite mum stalk.
Some of you might recognize her laugh.
All these kids with the best names ever.
Oh my God. Yeah, we're going to have to go through the names.
Yeah,
yes.
Go through the names.
Okay.
Sarah, you're going to intro our guest.
That's right. So today we have the incredible Tia B Stokes joining us. Tia is Tia is a powerhouse of positivity, resilience, and inspiration. She's a mother of 5, a dancer, a social media influencer, many, many more things, known for her candid and uplifting presence on her platform, Instagram, TikTok. You guys have seen her dances. They are amazing. Some of them make me cry so much. Tia's journey has been nothing short of extraordinary, from battling acute myeloid leukemia. Is that how you say that?
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I always stutter over words that I don't really recognize. Okay. To advocating for body positivity, all while sharing her life of authenticity and grace. Tia, welcome to the show. We're so happy to have you here.
Hi. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. I just love you guys. I love your energy. I love your vibe. I love just your realness. It's amazing. So thank you for having me.
Why I became so obsessed with you is because you were navigating a cancer journey. You have all these kids and you're bopping about in your hospital gown and you're doing these dances, da la la la. And I was like, oh my God, this is so good for the world. Who is this woman? Your vibrancy and your energy and your positivity. Yeah. I just knew that you were actually changing lives. And I want to start there. Tell me about that story. Also, why you decided to be so open about it, because you really have changed people's outlook. And it was during a time we were all in the middle of COVID. People were
Everybody was
down.
Scared.
Everyone was panicked.
I was wearing a helmet.
And you had probably, I felt she literally was like the bubble boy. She completely was in this whole hazmat suit at all times. I was like, oh my God, Sarah, really going for it. But I was watching your stuff and I was like, okay, to other outsiders, we would look at what you were going through, totally isolated, having to do these treatments in the middle of COVID. And you just had such light pulsing through you. Please just talk to us about that experience and why you decided to be so open about that journey.
Yeah. So I actually had my 5th baby, Rose B, in 2019. And I got, right after Rose, I got really sick. I had a cough, I had a sore throat, all the symptoms, right? And so for that 7 months, and I had already been sharing my life and my family and my mental health journey on social media, probably 2 years prior to that. And so it has always been a passion of mine my why has always been to help the one. If I can help one person through a post, a dance, a story, whatever it is, then I have made it that day if I've helped one person. And so that was my vision before I even started. And then when I had Rose and I got sick and I got, the world shuts down in 2020 and TikTok just barely came out, and I had been doing little TikToks here and there. But you never think that cancer is going to happen to you. You never think that's going to be a part of your story, right?
Yeah.
And for anybody, cancer is scary. You hear cancer and you're like, oh my gosh, it's really, really scary.
Yeah.
And so when I got the diagnosis that, I had acute myeloid leukemia, it was on April 24th, 2020. My doctor came over to our house because I had just gotten my last blood scans that day. And he came over and he was like, Tia, you have acute myeloid leukemia. And if you can imagine, our lives changed like that. He was like, you have an hour to get to the hospital. He said, your blood smears looked so bad. The oncologist asked us if you were already in a coma.
Oh my God.
Because of how bad sick you are. And, God bless, like I was still up and dancing. I was teaching virtual classes that day. I was, doing things. I mean, obviously I was sick. I was in bed most of the time, but, and then I remember I took one last family picture on that porch with my kids. And we didn't give them the news that I had cancer. They just knew mommy was going to go and get some help and be back in a couple days. And within that time, the doctor had told my husband to prepare for the worst. They weren't sure that they found my cancer in time. And so, knowing that and leaving my kids was just something that was like, I didn't want them to leave knowing mommy could die. Like, I wanted them to leave happy, and I'll be back in a couple days and I'll see you soon. And so after that, Andy took me to the hospital, and he dropped me off on the steps like a package, literally. I mean, he couldn't even go inside or take me to my room or nothing. It was like, see you later, one of those moments that was like, he didn't know, I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I don't know, before I got out of that car, I was so scared. Like, I was crying to my husband and just like, is this it? Like, am I going to die? This is how my life is going to end. Like, I'm not going to see you again. And my husband's a football coach, and he looks at me and he says, he doesn't wipe my tears. He doesn't hug me. And if you follow me online, Andy.
Yes.
He is just, we're totally opposites.
Yeah.
And he looks at me and he's like, Tia, you're a bad mother trucker. You better pick yourself up, go in there and fight, and get back home. And I think about those words, and I think about, wow, like he could have been like, hope, honey, it's okay. I love you. I'm so sorry, but what kind of strength would that have given me? Right. Like, I needed that.
He gave you what you needed.
Yeah. Like imagine like your husband literally just being like, push you out the door. Okay, love you, babe. See ya. You're going to go fight cancer by yourself. Yeah. Go get him, Tiger. Like,
he was coach. He was Coach Andy. You needed Coach Andy, and he did it.
I did. Like, I needed that firmness to be like, no, remind me of my strength, to remind me of. But the funny thing is during that time while he was driving me, he said he had a moment with God that he was like, because he was mad. Andy was so mad, and he was just like, how could you do this to my wife? She's dedicated years of her life dancing for children with cancer and people with cancer. And how can you give my wife, who is literally giving you everything, cancer now,
Yeah.
And he said he had a moment where he just heard, he had an impression that was like, step back. This isn't about you. There's a bigger purpose to what's happening right now. Like, this isn't about you. And so when Andy gave me those words, and he was like, you're a bad mother trucker, get in there, go in there and fight, and get back home. That strength just carried me through. I mean, honest to goodness, like his strength and those words gave me that almost like that superhero power. Like, when you're going into battle and you're just like, here we go. Like, I can do it.
Yes.
And there's like the strength of a mother as well. And knowing like you got those 5 little ones back there, and they're all rooting for you.
Well, and that's what Andy said. He was like, you got 5 kids. Like, no is not an option.
Yeah.
You're going to go in there and fight and get back home to the 5 kids like that. And for me, that was like my vision the whole time. And yeah. And as I went through that first round of chemo, the Red Devil chemotherapy, I was by myself that first month. My doctor said, you have to do something every day, 15 minutes of something, move your lungs, you got to fight cancer. And so TikTok, I was like, okay, I'll do a dance. I'll dance. I'll get up and, I don't want to walk. That's boring by yourself. I didn't have visitors. So it's not like I was walking with people or, And so I did a TikTok, and I thought, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put a message out every single time I put a dance out. I want people to open up TikTok, like see me and know that. And I had no idea it was going to like blow up. That wasn't my intention, but my intention was that I was still alive and I still had a voice. I still had purpose. I knew that, if I could dance, I could put some words on a screen and hopefully inspire somebody to be able to find the things that they were grateful for. And lo and behold, it was during the pandemic, so everybody's locked up in their houses and they open up TikTok and they're like, oh my gosh, there's this crazy girl locked in her hospital room, bald, hooked up to her IVs, dancing, and
you had like amazing moves as well.
Oh yeah, I think you're like a real dancer.
Doing like full pop back, like full on amazing dances. I was like, what?
If anybody wants to know why I don't have any dances on my Instagram, it's because I'd be like,
she was popping and locking and doing her. I was like, girlfriend,
you're crushing it.
You were crushing it.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh, you're nice. I was just in it. I was just in it for the fight, I'm like that. And it's funny, but it just brought so much, even for me. I know that it helped me so much in my healing journey.
Yes.
Tremendously,
How long were you in the hospital before you were able to go home?
So that first time I was in the hospital for a month, a little over a month before I was able to go home for a little bit. Yeah.
Wow.
So I read this article where you talked about how you had to reconnect, like relearn how to be, especially because you've had this little baby and you've had to take time away from her, your first daughter, and you had to reconnect with her and like get to know each other again. And I can't even imagine the complexity of that emotionally. You're going through so much, then it's also like, in reintroducing yourself to this little baby. Oh
that was honest. There's a lot of hard parts of it, but that was definitely one of the hardest things, was that just my little baby. Yeah. And you're right. My only little girl. And she was such a tender mercy during that time, for my husband, like that comfort. Yes, we had 4 awesome boys, but the little girl just brought just a little bit of that heavenly comfort, to him.
Yeah.
But it was so hard. When I would come home, she wouldn't want anything to do with me. I didn't look the same. She was barely 1 year old, almost. And she didn't call me mom for a minute because she didn't know me like that. And that was really, really hard on my heart and hard on my soul. And, I had great people that were stepping in and helping with my kids. But, as a mother, it's like, that's your spot.
Yeah, that's your bond. That's your connection. That was really heartbreaking when I read that. I was like, oh, on top of everything. Yeah. Then these are the little things that you don't think about when you're watching someone's journey, is you don't think about like the behind the scenes of like reintegrating back into life as mum with these children. Oh, you're such a warrior. This is incredible.
Well, and that was the thing, is that like, I was isolated pretty much that whole year by myself. And I became a baby because everybody was taking, the nurses, the doctors. I was so sick, right? Like you get so sick to where you have no immune system, no nothing, that you become like a child.
Yeah.
Like people are carrying you to the bathroom sometimes. They're bringing you your food. They're giving you your medicines. You're by yourself. And then going back into motherhood, for me, I feel like I'm even still just trying to I'm just barely starting to get above water with my place, like knowing my place as a mother. Because coming back into that was like, you just start to feel like, I remember during COVID when I got diagnosed with COVID and I was in complete isolation for 28 days. And my doctor came in and she was like, Tia, you got to get it. We have to get you out of this room. Like mentally, we just got to get you out of here. You got to see some sun. You got to go outside. And my kids were there. My husband and my kids were there outside.
Oh, my God.
It was it was just such a treat for me, but I couldn't touch them. I was in full gown, mask, everything. My kids were they stayed in the car so I could see them from 6 feet away. And I remember my son, and at that time I was feeling just so just defeated and just feeling like nobody really needs me. Like life goes on without you.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know, life is moving and you're here just focused on living, but everybody else is still living.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I remember my son, Legend, he said, Mom, we miss you more than you even know. And he was like 9 at the time, I think 9 or 10. And for me, that's like all I needed. I just needed that as a mother, you know, just to feel like, okay, they still need me.
I'm needed.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, of course.
I still have purpose in their life. Yeah.
And they're so resilient that they would adapt, but it's not the same. It's not the same as having your mum there, like that beautiful bond. And like, we do so much for our kids. And the moment you're away, it's like these little children have had to be very, very resilient and they try and make the most of it. But of course, there's this big gaping hole in their life, which is you.
Oh my gosh.
I can understand how suddenly you feel like, oh, am I still significant? Do I play a significant part of their lives? Like, I so understand the battle. And that's a really like specific and unique experience to what you were going through. And one I haven't read about before in these situations. And I think you articulate it so beautifully. Like it's really heartbreaking. And then did you take an active, like, were you like, all right, here's the plan of how to reintegrate? Did you take specific steps towards that? Or you were like, I am just going to go into the flow of this and it is organically going to rebuild the way it's going to rebuild?
Yeah, I think you go in hoping that it will organically rebuild.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of, I mean, when I was finally actually able to come home, you know, after that year, I actually didn't really get to go home and stay home till like 2021.
Oh,
so,
wow.
I mean, to the end, you know, after Christmas. So it was like, I didn't really get that experience till afterwards. But once I was there, even that 100 days, because I had a transplant, right, at the end of 2020.
Which your brother was your...
With my brother.
Was your donor. Oh my gosh.
And so there was a 100-day span where I could be home, but I was still like, I had to be babysat.
Yeah.
I had to be monitored. Like I couldn't drive. I couldn't do anything, you know? And so it was really like slowly integration, I would say. And just really trying. I mean, even I remember there being times where I would come home, and I mean, when I was home, and Andy, even I'd be like, I can't do the noise. Like I don't think I don't think people get it how traumatic it is on like mentally to going from being so sick and just that's all you're doing all day long, right? It's just And then it's like, here's 5 kids and a husband and a house and all the things.
And they're like,
oh my gosh. Like, yes. And I had to go through a moment of being like, okay, I fought so hard for this. I got to remember how to get back to this. Like, I have to remember how to, and I think that's where sometimes a lot of people, we break. And that's sometimes the hardest part is being able to be thrown back into that, like, okay, now you're a mother again. Take care of the 5 kids.
Now.
Yes, like, and you're a wife. Now you have to live with this person again after 9 months of just
being apart,
being on your own.
So I would say for me, it was just like a slowly integrating. Like my husband was great about giving me grace. I have a great, you know, chosen sister, Kelsey, who's been able to help me navigate, you know, being able to pull off layers of, okay, I can take the kids to school now. Okay, now I can cook the kids breakfast. Okay, now I can pick up the kids from school. You know, like I would really say it's just a little by little step. Like it's not going to be just, and I wouldn't recommend, like from my point of view, I wouldn't recommend anyone just like full-fledging jumping back in.
Right.
Trying to do it all.
No, you can't. And I think I had to be okay with that because before I used to be like, I can do it all. I'm a superhero. Let me do everything. But I had to come to a place as a mother to go, I need help.
Yeah. and go and treat yourself with ease and step gently.
Gently.
I am that personality too. And I can imagine I would be like trying to do all the things. and then it just wouldn't work. You would crumble. You would break.
Yeah. And, I had those moments, I had those moments of thinking at the beginning of like trying to do everything, trying to keep up with everything. And I did crumble. And I remember there being a time where I just told my husband, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I don't want to take my medicine anymore. I can't do it. I can't keep up. And he reminded me to, it's gonna be slow. And he's so awesome. But even my doctors reminded me that Tia, give yourself a 5 to 6 year pace of when you'll actually get to kind of be normal again in life. Which I feel like I'm like, okay, I think I'm doing pretty good right now. But with that, I think with that grace in mind of you went through all this. There was so much that happened in so fast of time.
Yes.
That you have to give yourself grace to be able to say, it's okay. I'm okay. I can do this today. And maybe I need help with this and this and this and this,
And celebrating those little wins.
Yeah, totally.
Listening to you talk about this, I'm thinking about just the way that your heart has to heal the trauma that you went through, just the heaviness of all of that as you are integrating. Did you lean into your spirituality? Did you how did you find, because your dancing is amazing. And I know how good it feels just to get our blood flow going. But were there other tools that you had to use where you were like, okay, I have to write in my journal, or I have to meditate, or what was the thing that really powered you?
Oh, yes. When I was pregnant with Major, my first son, I went through prenatal depression, and something that's not talked about a lot. And I struggled really, really bad. And I remember my husband came in and he picked me off the floor and he gave me the biggest hug. And I remember he said, Tia, I want to challenge you to write down 3 things that you're grateful for every single day. And he handed me this notebook from the dollar store, right?
Yes.
And I'm looking at this notebook. I'm like, this is not going to help me. I need help.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, he's like, we got to change your paradigm. You got to shift your paradigm to be able to, love life again and to be able to mentally be okay. And so I remember I started that when I was pregnant with Major, and I practiced that practice every single day. I would wake up faithfully. I mean, I think I'm 22 grateful journals into my life now. It's my kids will have so much stuff to go back on and look at. But it saved me. And not to say life wasn't hard after, obviously I got cancer 15 years later, but I think with having that practice every day and starting my day off every day with gratitude, just instantly finding the good, right? Instead of waking up and, oh my gosh, I gotta wake up, instantly just finding the good within the moment or that day or your sleep or whatever it was. So that was something that I took with me into my cancer journey. Every morning I had a grateful journal. It's so funny because I'm a big journaler. I would wake up, I would have my grateful journal. I would have my highlight journal. I'd write down the things that how I saw God's hand in my life.
Beautiful.
Especially during that time.
Yeah.
Because I think it's, when you're fighting cancer and you're by yourself and, you're losing everything physically. I mean, I lost everything, my hair, my strength, everything.
Wow.
I mean, it's so easy to find what's wrong, right?
Yeah.
And so it was so important for me every day to start my day off with that gratitude, with finding the good within the day, with prayer. I would start my day off with prayer and asking my Heavenly Father just to help me to find a way to bring service and light to somebody else. And I think that really helped me too, to be able to, to not just sulk in my
in your own situation.
What was happening at the moment, but to have that in my prayer. So when I did go throughout my day, I would be conscious of giving a compliment or conscious of a smile or conscious of, you know, I would put sticky notes on all the patients' doors, you know, throughout every time, just to let them know, you know, little affirmations all over their door. But I really feel like praying with that intention, like starting your day off with that prayer of intention of like, help me to know where to serve, help me to know where I'm needed today, really gave me that moment to be able to live with intention, even within that moment of darkness and hard and opportunity, you know? So
I'm sure so many of them, I just was so moved by what you said about, you know, you're in this like rock bottom place and you're finding the light in all these little areas, but you're also thinking about other people and you're being a helper. And we always say in our family, like, look for the helpers. How can we be a helper? I'm sure that has what you learned and your experience has really carried on to who you are today. Do you feel like before this experience and, you know, who you are now, do you feel like there's been radical change or just like the evolution has been quite immense? It feels like you can't go through an experience like that and then not come out the other side with like such gifts and wisdom and knowledge.
Yeah, no, I feel like I was reborn because I got a transplant.
In every way.
They do call it, like, I pretty much was reborn because I had a transplant, a bone marrow transplant. But like, I do. I mean, a lot of people, it's funny because, you know, the affirmations and the gratitude and all that prayer, I've been doing that since I had Major, really. I mean, prayer's been a part of my life. My parents instilled, you know, a very Christ-centered family for us, for my family growing up. And so I've always been raised on faith. Like that's always been a huge, like, it doesn't matter about anything else except for just being a good person and doing good things and being spreading God's love. And so that's always been instilled in me. But I think, you know, because I practiced that since Major, the gratitude, the looking for ways to serve, the changing your paradigm, and I would practice it daily, that it really helped me to take it into my fight. But then it's like, I went into this fight and I honestly tell everybody, I'm like, I feel like I've been given these like bifocals now.
Yeah.
Like I'm able to see life so much differently. Like, like I live with the motto of like, with my kids as a mother, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Like, honestly, I that's like that might sound weird to moms because, you know, everything's just stressful and we're like, trying to do everything. But for me, I tell my kids, I'm like, is mom dying? Are you dying? Are we okay? Okay. It's not a big deal. It's fine. We can handle that.
That is such a gift.
You know
because
what I mean?
Kids can feel like, I remember feeling at 14, like the world is ending when my best friend like broke up our best friend necklace and buried it in the sand. I was like, my life is over. Like, you know, I was like, I just want to die. But it's so easy to feel like when you're a kid, like your world is so small that these things feel so overwhelming. Like, what a gift to be able to tell them, like, find the perspective. It's okay.
Well, and that's the thing is that they're already going through their own hards, right? Like our kids are going through hard things on their own as they're growing and navigating. But I think like for me as a mother, what I've learned is just helping them realize that, you know, and not to say like, oh, it's not a big deal, whatever, but like, for me in the home, like if they make, you know, sometimes kids will spill, right? Like my little Rosie will spill or she'll lose something and she'll, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, Rosie, it's not a big deal. It's fine. Like, it's okay.
It's totally fine.
Making them feel just like, okay, my mom's not mad at me. It's okay. I'm not going to get in trouble. All right. This is okay. Like she's right, you know? And I think that's been, another thing is like for us, it's like, I always say, can we take it to heaven with us? And they'll be like, no. I'll be like, then it's not that big of a deal. Like,
that's right.
You know, like, what do we get to take to heaven with us? Our family our relationships. Okay. Well, then that's what's
Great.
important.
Yeah, that's what like
You know,
matters. Yes.
I feel like out of this journey, it just gave me and my husband just this whole perspective shift of like, it doesn't matter. Like life is so beautiful. And the gift of it is being able to learn how to enjoy it. Right.
Oh, and be present, like be present in the moments, like not looking for the other thing that will bring the happiness, or if I get this thing, or if we get there, you know, how we just, as human beings, we keep moving the bar. We talk about this all the time. It's
and
like,
that's something that I try to teach my kids. It's like, it's not things. Like, don't set a goal for a thing. Like, it's not, oh, well, when I make this X amount of money, or when I get this car, or when no, just be happy in the now. Cause we honestly don't even know if we're going to get tomorrow.
Yeah. It's so, we talk about that with aging as well. Like, what a privilege, what a damn privilege to be aging. And these wrinkles are coming on my face. Thank God, because what's the alternative? Like, we are so blessed.
We're so blessed.
You were so helpful to me. I went through, like, I was looking at your Instagram, and, you know, I recovered from disordered eating when I was in my early 20s. I went through like a really tough period of time when I first came to Hollywood, like really scrutinizing my body and all this sort of stuff. I was looking at your Instagram, and you are so like body positive, and you were spreading this message of body positivity. And I want to ask you about that, because I just kept thinking like, oh gosh, imagine if my 23-year-old self could watch this on TikTok, on Instagram. I know it would have helped pull me out of those feelings, the self-loathing and the critical voice that I was having. Can you talk about that experience and how that was born?
Yeah. I actually too went through as a dancer, I went through my share of body shaming and just, you know, feeling not worthy and disorders as well. At a young age. And so I remember once I got married, and my husband, you know, was able to help me through that. But I really feel like that's something that I'll probably battle for the rest of my life. I mean, that's just something that I'm going to get to battle and fight through. Right. But I really feel like as I started having kids, and, you know, your body starts shifting. And it was something that shifted in my brain to be, I realized that, I think for me, I looked at it and I was like, nobody is happy. Nobody is happy, whether they're skinny or whatever size they are. Like,
it's so
because
true.
We're not realizing the true beauty within our vessel that we've been given, and looking at our bodies as a vessel. And so for me, I had to have this whole mindset shift too, that my body is not just a temporal thing, but it's a vessel to be able to do more good in the world. Like, and so I think for me, as I started looking at my body as like a vessel for good, being able to serve, and looking at and counting all the gratitudes of what my body actually does for me. And then going through cancer, right? Having 5 babies, right? And then cancer, and realizing, holy crap, like I've been so worried about what I look like all these years that look what it's doing now. Like, you're right. And you come to these moments where you're like, oh my gosh, like I sat here complaining maybe about these things and self-loathing, and oh my gosh, I'm not this. I don't have a 6-pack. I'm not, you know, where it's like, now I'm in a point in my life in the hospital, just trying to live.
I just want to like breathe and be to the next day.
Like and so I think as my healing journey came, and as I, you know, went through chemotherapy and everything, and then I was put on high dose steroids, you know, where my body shifted so many different ways, and my face shifted in so many different ways, that it was an even bigger testament to me that this was needed even more. Like I was sharing it before, but I was like, people need to know that there is so much more to life. And I wish 20-year-old Tia would have saw that too. Like I wish 19, 18-year-old Tia could have seen someone go, hey, dancing on TikTok, no matter. And even my niece said, she goes, I just love that you've showed up every day, regardless of what you've looked like, regardless of what shape or size or what you look like. You've given, and she was saying about it, she was, you've given me like the ability to just show up no matter how I look. And for me, it was that one, that one that was like, I want young girls. I mean, it's a huge passion of mine now to be like, it doesn't matter. Like, you're alive. We get to be alive. We get to have this body that we get to do all the things with and enjoy life with. And I tell my hot mess class this morning, I told them, I said, this body, you literally, like, can you imagine, like, this body carried you from when you were a baby, a baby, to all the way today, to all the kids, to maybe the car accidents, to the injuries, to the experiences in life, to this moment.
Yes.
Like, how can you not look at it and be like, damn.
Good job, body.
Damn. Like, it is beautiful. Like, thank you, body, And I think that's been the biggest shift for me, is that appreciation. It goes back to that appreciation for, especially during my cancer journey, of what I didn't have. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't walk. I couldn't dance. I lost my hair. I lost everything, to when now it's all I had to, I really feel like it was like I was in the refiner's fire, literally, like you have to be stripped down to nothing to appreciate. So,
oh my gosh, this is the most beautiful. I was just thinking, you have millions and millions of followers. Like, you have so many people who follow you, and we always laugh about the term.
A lot more than just the one, by the way.
The one, And I was like, you kept saying the one, and I was like, you mean times a million? Like times like millions of people, including me. You had such an impact on me, and that's why I had to have you on the show, because you're just got this like beautiful sense of vibrancy and life just streaming out of every pore in your body. And you're so happy and positive, and that is just good for the world. I want my daughters and my sons to look on TikTok and see someone like you, like see the way you represent how to live.
Thank you.
And you're just
thank you so much.
Gorgeous. And we know that you're a busy mama of 5 and you're navigating all the things. And we're just grateful to you that you have taken the time to come and share your story with us, and all these listeners who will be profoundly changed by this experience and listening to you talk.
I hope so. Hopefully I can help one person. I love doing these things.
You definitely are.
Hopefully one person can be moved and touched and feel like they can, I just shot a documentary this last week, the whole week. And they asked me, what was my reason? What was the reason? And I said, because I kind of named, I don't know if it's for sure going to be named Born for This, but I think so. And I said, I just want anybody that listens or watches or sees a post, realizes that there's only one of you. There's only one you. Like, God created the mountains and the seas and everything. And then he decided there needed to be a Tia B Stokes.
Yeah.
For some reason. There needed to be a Teresa Palmer and a Sarah Olsen. And only you can fulfill the plan that was set for you. Only you can impact the people that you're going to impact. And that's something that I take and I teach my kids. And I want them to remember that there's a place, that there's a reason why you're here on this earth.
Yes.
And so like, literally, you were born for this. So whatever you go through in this life was given to you as your specific plan to fulfill, because he needed you to be able to reach those people and help as many people as you're going to help. So,
oh my God.
I love you guys. I love you too. I'm a talkie.
No,
we love
not
you.
at all.
And
honestly,
I've been moved to tears so many times this interview.
hate to even wrap it up at all, but I know that you need to go. So we just love you and thank you so much for being here. And you guys, have been listening to the Mother Days podcast. Check out Tia on Instagram and TikTok and all the things.
Where can we find you? Give us your Instagram handle.
Yes, you can find me at the Tia B Stokes, and that's on all my socials. So
amazing.
TikTok, YouTube, everything. Yeah.
All right, Daisies, we love you so much.
I love you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.